Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, taking a look at another 2023 Dallas Cowboys NFL mock draft. Not with Rock this time. We got my boy Ma. I'm friends with a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans. I don't know how I necessarily got there, but before we get into it, I just want to say thank you for you guys, like especially the Cowboys fans. We love running Dallas Cowboys mocks. We do it about once a week at this point, and the engagement you guys have shown truly means a lot. So again, if you do enjoy the content, you like talking to prospects, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys. We're going to get into it. Ma, I want to start with you. So we have some free agency news, and this is when the draft gets a little bit more clear. Zeke, not going to be with the Dallas Cowboys in 2023. That's going to be a weird look. And then you go out and get a guy like Stephon Gilmore. Where are you looking with these first three picks here?
So I think corner was going to be a huge one in the first round, which we got Gilmore. We could still draft one, but unless they trade for Brandon Cooks or DeAndre Hopkins, they could sign Odell, which wouldn't make me happy. Yeah, it wouldn't make me happy. But I think receiver is a huge one. I think it sounds like if they don't make a trade, which because they're apparently Hopkins is asking for a 2 plus a player, which the Cowboys aren't going to trade for.
No, you can't.
If it's that. And, Judy's a 1 and another pick or a player, not going to happen. So
yeah, I think when Rock and I have been running these mocks, like there are some solid wide receivers, and I guess we'll just start this draft going. It's really interesting to see where these wide receivers fall, because last year you think like there's a lot of teams that are putting a lot of value in that wide receiver position in the first round because they don't want to go out and pay. The wide receiver market is nuts. So looking at this 26th overall pick, looking at some of the wide receivers that are on the board, you're not really sure what you're going to be looking like. Zay Flowers is a guy that we really like. And Malone, before we got on this, you mentioned the guy in Jalen Hyatt as well. You're sitting here, you're Jerry Jones. Where are you? What's your feel on this wide receiver position here?
So the top player that PFF has ranked right now is Kalijah Kancey, which the Cowboys need a defensive lineman. Ooh. However, the Aaron Donald comparisons, just because he played at Pitt and he's small, are ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's a good football player. The Cowboys usually have height and size. They have size requirements. I don't think they're going to draft him in the first round.
He doesn't seem like a Cowboys guy.
Yeah, we don't need a tackle in Anton Harrison. So it's for me, it's Zay Flowers or Jalen Hyatt.
See, I'm a Zay Flowers guy more than Jalen Hyatt, and I'll tell you why. From getting into like both their guys' film, Jalen Hyatt is very, very good vertically down the field, and that's what you mentioned you want the Dallas Cowboys to address. Yeah.
The Cowboys lack speed, and I love DeAndre Hopkins. I think he'd be a great trade piece. He's not fast. He's getting older. Michael Gallup can barely run last year. Hopefully he's better off the ACL. And CD isn't a burner. He's good after the catch, but he's not a burner. They need speed at receiver.
And Zay Flowers ran a 4.42. Jalen Hyatt ran a 4.39. So they're comparable speed. I think it's fair to say Jalen Hyatt's his game speed is a little bit better than Zay Flowers. I mean, that guy gets cooking down the field. I just have some question marks about Jalen Hyatt transitioning to the NFL because he never really saw any press coverage. He was always working on like nickel corners or safeties because that Tennessee offense, just because they run those stacks, like he's getting free releases. He's getting matchups that are really suitable for him, and he was winning. I'm not necessarily saying Jalen Hyatt can't do that at the next level, but working with some of those longer, more physical cornerbacks, I just wonder if Jalen Hyatt is going to be able to have that production that he had at Tennessee in 2022 in the NFL. So my lean here is Zay Flowers, but I will defer to you as the Dallas Cowboys fan here. Where are you going at this wide receiver spot?
So the Cowboys, as I said, usually have size requirements. I think Zay Flowers is a little small and would make them uncomfortable. And I love Jalen Hyatt. I will take Zay Flowers here.
Okay, so I like it.
I'm going to take him here because the Cowboys need speed. He's fast, but they're moving into a new offense with Mike McCarthy. It's going to be a lot of short area stuff. He's smaller, but he can fly.
And Zay Flowers can fly, but you mentioned it best. Jalen Hyatt, I don't think he has as much of a complete route tree as a guy like Zay Flowers. Like Zay Flowers underneath between like inside that first down, like the first 10 yards, elite short area quickness, creating separation extremely quickly. Like he's going to make any quarterback's job easier because he creates separation so quick.
Yeah, and I think with the new offense, the way it's going to be run, they need guys who can get open fast. He can definitely do that.
All right, sitting here at 58, we mentioned cornerback, and I love this cornerback class. If you guys have been listening to us, I'm a big fan of it. I think Eli Ricks would be a phenomenal pick here, but I also think this cornerback class is really good to the point where you could probably get a cornerback at 92. Um, I'll tell you something that I think you talk about size requirements. A guy like Carl Brooks for the Dallas Cowboys, we took him at 90 last draft. I don't think he makes it to 90 in a little bit more realistic of a setting. I mean, this dude is an absolute free from Bowling Green who can play kind of that three tech. I think he's strong and big enough to play kind of like that one tech over the center as well. Thoughts here on Carl Brooks?
So I don't know much about Carl Brooks. I can talk about the position though.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys have Micah, Sam Williams, Demarcus Lawrence, and Dorrance Armstrong. Who knows how much longer Demarcus Lawrence is going to be playing? He plays hurt every single year.
Yep.
And I think edge is a big need for them.
Bigger.
But if the position that I want here is corner, and Eli Ricks is he's an elite talent. He hasn't necessarily shown it in college, but as we were talking before, Al Harris, Dan Quinn, give me that.
Because I think Dan Quinn would love a guy like Eli.
This is Diggs' last year of his contract, and who knows if they're going to franchise tag him? Who knows if? I mean, God, he might not even play on the tag because he wants to play with Stephon. And if you're looking at the future Cowboys contracts, Mike is going to sign a record-setting deal to stay a Cowboy. CD needs a contract. Dak might need a new contract. I think you got to go corner here. And if Diggs goes, he goes because we have other guys who've been playing well.
Man, and Eli Ricks, I'll talk a little bit about the prospect here. I think he's a Joey Porter Jr. clone that's just getting bumped down boards because, I mean, you look at the stats. He didn't play much football. He's a former 5-star, was at LSU, transferred to Alabama, got in some off-the-field stuff. But when he was at Alabama and when he started Malone, we'd be texting about this kid. Like when he started playing for Alabama, a 31.6% completion percentage when targeted. You turn on the Mississippi State film, a ton of targets. Nobody could get off the line of scrimmage on him. He eats people up at the line of scrimmage. Kind of a guy that Dan Quinn would love. He's super long. He has smooth hips. He has the traits in the film when he's playing of a round one cornerback that's just getting pushed on boards because you have some of the off the field concerns. If you check those away, Eli Ricks would be just a dynamite pick.
Well, and not to mention this year, I think he's a lot like Diggs, but this year he'd also have Gilmore to be a father figure for him, a mentor.
I like that.
And I think that would be unbelievable.
And I wonder if that's why they went out and got Gilmore. Because it's like if you're planning on taking a young cornerback in this class, I think that would make a lot of sense. And now at pick 90, I think you could be looking at this running back room, which is another really, really deep group. I love Tank Bigsby. I love Dwayne McBride. And this was a discussion Rock and I had. I'm kind of interested to hear your takes on it. You want someone to maybe complement Tony Pollard. So Tony Pollard, a little bit more of a spacier guy. Do you want more of a bruiser, kind of like what Zeke provided in that backfield? Or do you just taking your best running back available here?
So I think it's kind of a mixture. I think Tony has shown that he can be a 3-down back.
I agree.
He was very, very good last year. So Malik Davis is on the roster. He's not very big. He's short. He's a little stocky, but
Malik Davis ain't touching the football.
No. Even though I think he was better than Zeke last year, but running the ball. I know Zeke had all the touchdowns, but he showed. But yeah, I like running back here, but I would like a guy if let's assume Pollard doesn't sign a contract, re-sign, they're probably getting rid of him. And I would like to kind of have a guy who can do both. But what else is available here? Because there's a lot of good running backs in this class.
Oh, and Rock and I went Tank Bigsby at 90, but I'm totally good with passing on a running back. And Carl Brooks still on the board, I think would be a pick. Carl Brooks is a guy that you pull up what he's done at Bowling Green. I apologize for the Dallas Cowboys fans that saw us last week talking Carl Brooks, but for those who didn't, 23.8% pass rush win rate. You look at he's 6'4", he's 300 pounds, but he lined up mostly kind of at that 5-tech outside of the tackle, quite frankly, because he was the best player on the field. Mm-hmm. He went to the Senior Bowl, played on the inside extremely well. I think he's going to play more like that 3-tech interior defensive line spot. The burst and bend that he has from playing outside is really rare to see in these interior defensive linemen, while also having the strength to hold up in the run game. I think Carl Brooks would make a ton of sense here. And also a guy like Moro Ojomo would make a lot of sense. But Carl Brooks is a fun prospect to watch on film. The question is, can he bring He was dominating the MAC. That's a lot different from looking good in the NFL, but I'm willing to bet on the traits, the burst and bend he has from the inside, and the power in this dude's hands. And he also gives you some versatility because he can play kind of all over the defensive line.
Yeah.
I love me some Carl Brooks. And going off the size concerns Dallas has, Moro Jomo is a very, very small interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, agreed. I would have looked guard there too, just because we don't have a starting left guard, and I would rather Tyler Smith not start at guard. So I'm looking for a guard here at 129.
Man, hand up about Tyler Smith. I was so wrong on him.
Yeah, I think everyone was. But
I was so
about Carl Brooks, the Cowboys don't really draft small school players that much. They drafted one last year in the 3rd round, and how did that work out? Jalen Tolbert was active for 3 games or whatever, had 2 catches for 13 yards. Carl Brooks is a good player, but I don't know. I don't know if they would take him.
Then maybe you go with Moro Jomo, who also might have some question marks about the size because he's only 285 pounds playing on the inside.
I think a big question is whether or not Jonathan Hankins comes back because he's a free agent. He hasn't been re-signed. Osa's been great. We still have Gallimore. Like we're okay if Hankins comes back, but if Hankins doesn't come back, we need someone in the draft.
This might be the spot to take running back because I do think there is a little bit of a sweet spot in this running back, and I'm not seeing any interior offensive linemen that I personally have evaluated and love in the top 150 here. If you're looking at running back and you're looking at the best pure ball carrier in this class, I mean, DeWayne McBride is probably on that list. You take a look at what he did. And again, I know another small school guy, but freak show numbers, 7.3 yards per carry in 2022, 6.7 yards per carry in 2021. That's on 200 plus rushes. This dude running the football is one of the best in the class. And when it comes to balancing out Tony Pollard, I think DeWayne McBride would be a great get here.
Yeah, that's who I took earlier when I was doing a couple of mocks. And I haven't watched him play. I don't really know anything about him other than the top few running backs I know about, like Charbonnet, Bijan, Jameer.
Yeah.
And I think this guy has it sounds like he has a good blend of size and speed, which I like, rather than just drafting there's a lot of gadget guys in this class. I love Tyjae Spears, very small. And we already have a gadget guy in Turpin who we don't use. I don't know if it was Kellen or McCarthy who couldn't figure out ways to get him the ball. I just don't think they're going to take a gadget guy here, especially if they're looking to get to Pollard being gone after the season.
The only question, if you take DeWayne McBride, he's not going to be a 3-down back. And there's plenty of like 3rd down backs you can go get, but in terms of a pure ball carrier, like Nick Chubb type dude, I think DeWayne McBride's probably the best. I mean, 5 catches. I mean, all those rushing attempts, 5 catches in the last 2 years. I think you go get him and say you're the best pure runner of the football. Tony Pollard definitely will be kind of our 3rd down guy. And quite frankly, probably your all-purpose back. But when you need Tony Pollard to come off the field, you're getting a guy in DeWayne McBride who can run the rock.
Well, and you got to think. I mean, I've heard Pollard will be fine for game 1 or whatever, but he just broke his ankle. They need insurance, and obviously we can talk maybe about Bijan or Gibson the 1st round, but I'm not there.
I'm not there yet either. That's not Moro Jomo still here. I don't know why they're doing this to me. He's so good. Any other positions? You said maybe address the interior offensive line spot here. And when I'm looking at interior offensive linemen, I'm also looking at the tackle class and saying which tackles do I think could kind of be swing tackles who could also play on the inside. And there's not a guy that I think fits that mold better than McClendon Curtis. This dude is really, really good. He's played a lot of guard, played left tackle at Chattanooga's last year because he's, again, the best player on the team. So he's going to play left tackle. Surprisingly good feet for a guy that's 6'6", 330 pounds, but I don't know if it's good enough to play tackle at the next level. But you get a guy in McClendon Curtis who, again, you're picking round 5. I don't know if he's going to be a day 1 starter, but he's a great swing player who, if you have some injuries, he can plug and play at tackle. He can plug and play at guard. I think he's a guy that is and again, a small school guy. We're kind of going against the grain here, but McClendon Curtis is another great prospect. So
I don't know if Chandler Zavala was there. I know he wasn't invited to the combine, and every time I do a PFF mock, he's there at 1. I don't know whatever the last pick was.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about him? Because Not good. You don't like him?
Not great. I just don't think he's like a mauler enough.
Yeah.
I have a little question marks about the physicality that Chandler's
So
about
so
brings.
you were just talking about flexibility. So I can't think of our O line coach who just got fired's name. I can't think of it. Whatever it was. He liked the flexibility.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember what our actual new O line coach's name is. He's the former guy from Seattle. I don't know if what he values in that though.
Yeah, and I think
Right?
most offensive line coaches will have value on it. Can you play multiple different positions, especially if you're taking a
Yeah.
guy in round 5 who's probably not going to be a day one starter and more of a reserve dude. But, okay, can you, if we need you week 11 to fill in at tackle, especially in your guy's situation where you're not really sure who your tackle is going to be, can you do it and not be a liability? So I think there's definitely some value in there, and I think McClendon Curtis has that in spades. And you get to like 169. This is where I'm just kind of going with like best player available. Dorian Williams at linebacker.
That's
If you,
that's what I was going to take.
yeah,
We need, Van Der Esch is coming back. Damone Clark. I keep who's Anthony Barr's gone. Jabril Cox, since he tore his ACL, is apparently basically no longer on the team.
Demote Clark's a guy to keep your eyes on. I really liked his game.
I like him too, but if Luke Gifford's gone, who's been a special teamer / our third or fourth linebacker, but I don't know if Jabril Cox can be that guy.
Malone,
Yeah.
Bryce Ford Wheaton. Yeah, we talked about. Okay,
So
what do you take?
I would have taken Zach Kuntz if he was there.
Ooh, let's take a look.
Well, he just got taken by the Bucks at
Okay.
175. But 6'8", give me all that. He doesn't need to really play this year. Just see what happens. I mean, you can't teach height. That dude's huge.
Especially in the red zone where all these NFL teams are like, how can we score touchdowns? Like, how can we get 6 points? Like, you want a guy with the big frame. That's kind of why I'm higher on Darnell Washington than most. And speaking of that, me and Dill did a mock draft. Chris Trapasso of CBS Sports. He had Darnell Washington going 26 overall to the Cowboys, which is ludicrous. But like, I don't think Darnell Washington's a horrible guy to be taking a look at, like with that pick 90. Or another thing we haven't talked about is you have so many of these day 3 picks, and if you have a guy that you want to maybe move up in day 2 to go get, package a couple of those picks up and go get a guy. Because again, so many picks in this draft. If we're not getting Zach Kuntz, though, I think Bryce Ford Wheaton. And if you all have been listening to me for a little bit, like I'm banging the table for this dude.
We both love Bryce Ford Wheaton.
Watching him against Pitt, he was.
Let me ask you a Darnell Washington question.
Yes.
Jason Peters was a tight end at Arkansas before he was moved to left tackle in the NFL. What are your thoughts on Darnell moving to tackle?
I've heard that. I think people are undervaluing Darnell Washington's pass catching ability. I think he was behind the best tight end in college football in Brock Bowers. He's a guy that he just caught for almost 500 yards in the SEC. I don't think he got enough opportunity to show that he can be a pass catcher. And no doubt you're drafting him with the number one thing is he's a 6 offensive lineman who's going to be a dog in the run game. I just don't see a thick enough lower body for Darnell. Like, it just seems like his body type is a little bit more of like a power forward in the NBA as opposed to like a tackle. So I don't love it, but I've heard people like it. Going back to Bryce Ford Wheaton, like if you want size and speed, 6'3", 225, running a 4.38, like he ran faster than Jalen Hyatt. Like, sign me up.
Yeah,
it kind of balances out what we did with Zay Flowers.
Yeah, he's Michael Gallup. That's what we need, speed.
And when we were watching the pick game, we were texting during the game, I believe. Like, he's a guy that when you watch him, you think he's winning more with his size and physicality. And then he goes out and tests like that, 40-inch vertical too. Like, you didn't see Ricky Stromberg goes, I'm actually pissed. But would you get Stetson Bennett here?
So we were having a conversation. So yeah. I didn't think Cooper Rush was going to honestly come back. I thought he was going to have a way better market considering he's 4-1 as a starter, which is he's not a good. But I don't know if the Cowboys take a QB unless Hooker like slides to the 3rd round here. Now, Jerry said he wants to start drafting QBs every year because you never know. But if I'm taking any of these guys, I'm taking Clayton too. I'm not.
Yeah, and my problem with this quarterback group is they're all just so like Stetson Bennett. Y'all know how old he is. Like, Clayton Tune's turning 24 before he's taken an NFL snap. Like, they're just not there's not many quarterbacks that are like, oh, we're gonna groom you to be like our next guy. You're drafting a backup quarterback, whether it's Stetson Bennett, Clayton Tune. So
Yeah.
I'm
Now,
not in love with it. I will tell for Dallas Cowboy fans, if you're looking for like a sleeper running back, Eric Gray, like I have him. He's my number 3 running back on my board. I absolutely love what Eric Gray brings. 211 pounds too. He's just very similar to Tony Pollard. He does a lot of the same stuff. The running style is very similar, so the balance isn't there.
now,
Will Mallory here.
mhm.
I like him. Would you take a flyer on one of these tight ends here late?
Yeah, I would. I think we only have 3 on the roster right now with Hendershot, Ferguson, and McEwen from Michigan.
Big time country.
Yeah. I don't know much about Will Mallory. I think
he's one of the better pass. He's a pure pass guy. Like you're not gonna have him in line block.
Here, I'm taking Mallory, Cunningham, or Clayton Tune.
Okay, I personally am not
I would go
quarterback.
I would go Mallory.
Yeah.
Because we already have 3. I mean, Will Greer's still under contract. We are still have 3 QBs.
Another take on this quarterback class is just like there's so many guys that are good quarterbacks that opted to stay in school for another year, like Tyler Van Dyke, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, because the NIL market for a starting quarterback at the Power 5 level when you're good, like you're getting a lot of money. You don't need to go and get your bag yet. Like, okay, I'm okay. You want to take Clayton Tune here? I'll be all right with it.
What are your thoughts on Malik Cunningham?
I don't think he's a starter. I think he's a guy that could come in a pinch win you a football game. But
I mean, I'm not asking him to be a starter. I'm just saying he's probably the biggest project of the guys.
And maybe that's what you want.
And right now you're drafting a project.
Okay, you just sold me on it. And again, Malik Cunningham, his numbers are phenomenal. Like one of the most productive quarterbacks in the ACC we've seen in a very long time. I think he's good with the ball. I don't think the arm talent's crazy. You're obviously drafting a phenomenal athlete. So, yeah, you get a guy on your team who could.
That's what I am. Like none of those. Like I'm not saying that Malik Cunningham is going to ever be a starting quarterback in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys. But if you're taking a QB that late and you already have your starter and your backup, who cares, right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
If you got the guy, who cares? Like it doesn't matter.
And that's kind of where I'm getting at with like, why don't you just couple some of those picks and move up into day 2, like late day 2, and go get another guy you like? Because it's like there's like you're kind of at the end of this, you have so many picks where you're just kind of like, all right, this guy could maybe help us. Where it's like if you could go get a Darnell Washington at 70, move up from 90 to 7, you know what I mean? I think that would make a lot of sense. All right, Rock and I would say if you get a really good PFF grade, you're probably doing something wrong. Zay Flowers is an A pick. I think that's a dynamite pick. Whether it's Zay Flowers, whether it's Jordan Addison, like maybe you don't want Jordan Addison, maybe you want a little bit more speed, but Zay Flowers would be a phenomenal pick at 26. PFF's not going to like the Eli Ricks pick because they don't value Eli Ricks as a prospect like you and I do. But you're getting a guy who could be like an all-pro quarterback. McClendon Curtis, they don't like my guy again, which makes sense. Other than that, my favorite pick of the draft here is Bryce Ford Wheaton, though. Dynamite.
Yeah, the Cowboys just need help on offense. And, Dak made a comment yesterday that he's like, it's kind of like now or never. Like, and that scares me.
Yeah.
Because he can basically make the decision after the season that he doesn't want to be a Cowboy anymore. And it's kind of over.
Yeah, give him. And again, it was kind of CD or not much going on in terms of like the pass catchers. And I really do like because in this class, it's a lot more slot guys like Zay Flowers, JSN, Josh Downs, Tank Dell. A lot of those like top-notch wide receivers are more of slot guys and not necessarily boundary dudes who are big frame and can work the ball, work vertically down the field. Bryce Ford Wheaton does. And so I think it's a nice balance and a guy that I don't think will necessarily fall that low, but even at 160, maybe even 129, I think it's worth a shot as well. We'll wrap it up with that, guys. Again, we appreciate you guys checking us out. And again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll be back in a week or so with another Dallas Cowboys mock as free agency plays out. Malone, obviously, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to y'all later.